some ways, at some point in your life, everybody can be a lost rider. Good morning and welcome to this weekend's edition of News from the Camp House, a listening post to the Texas Sportsman Association. This is Herman Brune, and this week's edition is also brought to us by the Shaw's Bend Social Club. Shaw's Bend Social Club is a country club for folks who don't have a country club. All right, tell you what, I mentioned a little bit last weekend about the Charley Russel Museum and their art show and auction. And we're here on the floor of the exhibition center right now with the executive director of the Charley Russel Museum, Mr. Thomas Figarelli. Thomas, how you doing this morning?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me here.
All right. Now, we're sitting here at the end of the show, and I'm going to let Thomas explain a little bit about what it's all about. And this is a once-a-year function, correct?
That is. It's once a year. We're over 50 years now of doing this, so it's a pretty special thing for us. And, there's some many facets which we can discuss of what we do with this event, but simply put, it's just all about getting good folks together who love Western art and Western artists, and they can have a great time discussing art, buying art, selling art, and just making good friendships.
Well, that's it. I mean, this is easy to make friends up here. It's walk around the exhibition hall. Let me explain a little bit about what happened here. A fella comes up, he goes through the exhibition hall, he can meet the artist, he can talk to the artist, he can see what each person, the type of art that they do, you kind of get a flavor of it and talk to them. And everybody's friendly, everybody's good. And it's artists from pretty much all over the country, but then also a lot of local artists.
It is. That's one thing. Great Falls is so fortunate, probably because of Charley Russel and his legacy here. We have a really large local art community. So there are a number of professional artists living and working right here in Great Falls, which is fantastic. You mix that with what you mentioned, artists from across the West, and boy, we've got a really nice collection of folks. And the suites themselves, what you mentioned, when you walk through, you see all these different artist booths. So, for the listeners out there, if they can just imagine these, 10 by 10 pop-up galleries with artists filling it with their own work. And, that's stuff that's for sale from the artists. But each booth is kind of like their little home, their little living room. They're welcoming you in to make a relationship, share some stories, and just have some fun.
All right. How many years have you been doing this?
I'm going into my 6th year here at the Russell Museum, and which is great for me because I'm a hometown boy from Great Falls.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, you familiar with the Eastern Rocky Mountain front?
Oh, I am. It's gorgeous up there. Yeah, it's gorgeous. I mean, my folks are from Conrad and Fairfield, which are two towns, kind of northwest of Great Falls. So, yeah, that Rocky Mountain front is just iconic for me in my mind.
I kept a P.O. box in Shoto for 10 years.
Shoto, I have some aunt and uncles that live in Shoto. It's a great little town.
All right. Okay. All right. Tell people a little bit about coming to the museum. What all can they see the rest of the year?
Well, great question. First and foremost, our collection just isn't Charley Russel. I mean, that's the premier, area that we interpret, obviously, is the Charley Russel Museum. But we also have works of other historic Western artists and then works of contemporary Western artists. But the crown jewels of our collection are Charley and Nancy's home and studio. So our museum is built in the backyard of the home and studio here in Great Falls. So why is that important? Well, that's important because you can see Russell art in a lot of different places, which is fantastic. His art is out there. It's collected and celebrated throughout the country. But no one has the home and studio, and you can then understand him better. You can understand Nancy better by going through the home and the studio, which we just recently conserved for the first time ever, and it's over a century of existence of those home and studios, that complex. We conserved it on a really high-quality level to make sure that we got it historically accurate and correct, so the experience that people would see in those spaces is really top-notch. Then our Russell collection itself is fantastic. We're very fortunate to enjoy some really meaningful Russell oils. The Exalted Ruler, which features, I think, a Rocky Mountain front landscape, in fact, is really the preeminent piece in our collection. But we have so many wonderful loans, Russell loans, at the museum as well, that collectors have entrusted us with, and they've allowed us to show them to the public, right? So, these are pieces that you don't always get to see, and we get to rotate them on our loan collection, which is good fun. And then, like I said, we do these other exhibitions of other Western artists. So right now we have a show of Weinhold Rice, who was an artist that did a lot of work here in the West. He also did some work back in New York as well. And it had two very different genres and styles, but out in the West, as you can imagine, it was Western art for him. And he captured these great portraits of primarily Blackfeet subjects. And so we have a show of his right now, which is really fun. We have our permanent exhibition on the American bison, and that tells the story of why was the bison important culturally, economically, spiritually, and culturally. So we just have a lot of fun at the Russell Museum. We try to rotate our exhibitions 3 times a year. We kind of have a trimester setup, if you will. So we have a fall, winter, a spring, and a summer.
All right, what about getting school kids in?
Oh gosh, I'm glad you asked about that. That's a prime focus for us, especially during the academic year. What's fun for us as well is we're going into our 54th year of the Russell Essays. So this is an essay contest that some community members started, half a century ago to just answer the simple question, why is Charley Russell important? And so to help students answer that question, these are 5th graders, by the way, they come in and tour the museum. So each January into February, we have over 1,000 5th graders that come in and tour the museum and spend time with our education staff, and then reflect on why was Charley important to Montana, to the American West, and why is his legacy meaningful and enduring yet today. Now, they obviously do that through the medium of written word, which academically helps them. I mean, that's an important skill set for their developmental process as students, especially in 5th grade. But it's also true to Charley. Charley, some of your listeners might know, was a pretty avid writer. Now, he was not the most classically trained writer, right? I mean, he, allowed his authenticity as a Westerner to flow through onto his pen, but he did a lot of illustrated notes to people and was just really avid in capturing some great stories and some great comments on paper and sending it to his friends. So these students are kind of reflecting that same kind of propensity for Charley to write as well as do some art. The students do it too. They write, but then they'll also do a little postcard and draw it out and color it and submit it with their essay.
Oh, that's too cool. Oh, who judges this stuff for y'all?
Well, that's a great question. We have a group of retired teachers primarily that come together, and they select a winner from each school, and then a citywide winner, and then a countywide winner. So we do a nice proclamation ceremony. The mayor always proclaims it C.M. Russell Week in March, and that's where we then present the winners a nice little check and a nice Russell print.
Okay, yeah, that was going to be my next question is, the kids certainly get the experience out of it, but then they get a print and they get bank a little bit or something, but they get a print that they get to look at from now on in remembrance.
They do, and we frame it for them too. So it's something that is ready to go right up on their wall as mom and dad, celebrate them being the winner of the essay, whether it be for the school or the county, what have you. They can go home and put this nice Russell print up on their wall and just kind of always remember, how proud they were of their son or daughter in what they did with this essay. But then also as a family, hopefully appreciate our culture as Westerners, and at the end of the day, that's why we want people to display art, right, in their homes, is it makes us feel connected as a Western folk.
All right, and then, okay, last night's, you had 2 days of auctions, and I guess last night was probably the premier auction. Y'all's governor was here.
Yeah, he was. Governor came. Governor's a pretty big Western art collector, Governor Greg Gianforte. So, he's no stranger to the auction. In fact, far before the time that he was in the governor's mansion, he was here buying art. So it was fun to have him.
I'll be darned. Okay, I know one of the fellas I got to be friends with, the governor bought a piece of his sculpture.
Oh,
so
yeah.
he bought a piece of Greg Kelsey's sculpture. So the Stargazer, one with the Indian on the horse.
Oh, that's fantastic! Yeah, and Greg's an exceptional sculptor. So I mean, it's a smart move to put a Greg Kelsey piece in your collection. Yeah.
Yeah, it's okay. You also had quite a few original Russells in the program last night.
We do. And, really for us, there's kind of a business model here we have to manage, right? So the historic pieces, especially Russell works, fetch a higher dollar value usually, right, than the contemporary stuff. But boy, we had some great contemporary sales last night too. We had a Jeremy Winborg piece set a record last night, and it sold for $75,000. Right. And for the listeners that don't know Jeremy, get online and take a look at him. He's out of Utah. He is a fantastic artist who the way he works is just fantastic. His medium and approach in his art is very unique. So check that out. But we're really looking to always have some nice historic works. Maybe a cross section of anywhere from 10 to 15 historic items to complement the contemporary stuff. And those come from consigners, folks that are looking to, maybe change their collection a little bit. Maybe mom or dad's passed away, a family's looking to maybe do some stuff with their estate, so they might consign a work to us. And we're just always so grateful for that. We know we sell Russell works very well. We look at the other auctions and what they do, and there's some that do a wonderful job, don't get me wrong, but we always have our Russell sales on Russell Originals perform at the top of the market. And so, we share that with consigners, and in an effort to recruit their pieces and recruit their commitments to the auction. And boy, it works out pretty much every year. Now, this year, our cover piece on the catalog was Russell's High, Wide, and Handsome, which, I think many people would say is one of his more exceptional watercolors. Right. Troy Black, our auctioneer last night, called it, in his estimation, Russell's very best watercolor. And that was a piece that was done for the 1919 Victory Stampede up in Calgary. And so we had it in an exhibition just a couple years ago when we were commemorating that century mark of the 1919 exhibit Charley did in Calgary. And so it's a wonderful piece. And the last thing I'll say about it is we have this wonderful black and white photo of Charley painting in his studio. So there he is working on his easel, and right above him, High, Wide, and Handsome. So it's fun to just see these pieces that have a history and a lore to themselves come through our auction. It just enriches, I think, everybody's experience and makes it fun to see a Russell work go to a new home.
There you go. Oh, that was that. And that piece went for $400,000.
Yeah, that's true.
And the artist sitting next to me told me that was $1 million piece. Somebody just got a deal.
Oh, they did. They got a great deal on it, which was wonderful.
Yeah, and my listeners are going, what? So, all right, I tell you what. Let's thank the folks who let us come on here every Saturday morning. We'll be right back.